The following episode might contain sensitive content that you might not be comfortable listening to. This will include topics such as self-harm, suicide, alcoholism. If any of these things or anything related might disturb you, please proceed with caution or click off the video now. What makes you so complacent with doing nothing on a day-to-day basis? Hello, my name is Hazy. Who Killed Hazy? Welcome back to yet another episode of the Only Rainy Days podcast. And I feel like I say this every single time, but once again, assuming I don't change the name based on what's written down in my notes, this episode should be called Sitting Stagnant. And I feel like it's the same to the last episode 11, It's Quiet, where this episode was more inspired by how I've been feeling lately, as opposed to a more premeditated episode, something that I knew I wanted to talk about at some given point. This episode is more based on how I've been feeling lately, because to put it quite honestly, I've been feeling lazy. I've been feeling insanely lazy. I've been feeling lazy enough to the point where I know exactly what I need to do, when it might even need to be done, and I still don't change my ways. I still sit here and I push it off as far as I can. At the time of recording right now, it is April 22nd at about 5:30 in the morning. It's way earlier, or way later, I guess, than I usually record in terms of the day. And I feel like I told my editor that this episode would have been done on Wednesday, which, given that today is a Saturday, means that I'm about 4 days late. I've been pushing it back. I've been procrastinating. I've been lazy. I've been feeling unmotivated. I guess unmotivated is the word that is worth using here. And it feels bad to use the word unmotivated in terms of referencing things that I do, quote unquote, out of passion as opposed out of obligation. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to say that this is still a passion project. It doesn't make sense to say that some of the things I do throughout my life is because I'm interested wholeheartedly, and I would do it without pay, and still feel unmotivated to do them on a consistent, a scheduled basis. If I'm not doing it for the sake of doing it necessarily, can I really say that I'm dedicated to it? Can I really say that I'm passionate about it? That's been a question that's been plaguing my mind lately. And I don't know fully. Maybe my thoughts will develop as I continue to talk out loud to myself. But maybe those thoughts are based in the fact that I am passionate, and I don't want to just diss myself. I don't want to create distance between what I'm trying to accomplish and what I'm actually doing. And maybe I just don't want to hurt myself. In the same sense, maybe I am just completely willing to put my personal feelings aside to just make a point here. I don't know which stance I want to take, but I think it does go without saying, in terms of myself, at least personally, I haven't been doing everything that I've been wanting to do. I've been pushing back on it. I've been avoiding it. I've spent a good amount of time this week just doing nothing. And to say that doing nothing is a problem, I wouldn't say it's necessarily a problem. I believe that the lack of action is important in creating balance. If you were to spend your entire life doing something always, you'd burn out. You lose your mind, you would lose passion for the things that you are doing. So I believe that allowing yourself to sit stagnant, allowing yourself to indulge in things that aren't necessarily progressive by some means, I don't believe it's a problem. But at least in my personal opinion, or at least in terms of what I'm dealing with right now, I have I pray I'm using this word correctly. I have an abhorrent amount of time to just kind of do as I please and do what I want and try to pursue the things that I want to pursue. I'm in a very blessed period of time right now. And even though that I recognize the period of time that I'm in is blessed, knowing that even though I know that at some point that time has to end, I can't say I don't feel, but I guess even if I feel, I clearly don't care to do anything with that knowledge. And that type of idea, that type of feeling really bothers me deep down. There's no one to really blame but myself, to be honest, with the fact that I understand what circumstances I'm in, and I refuse to change my ways. Because I'm in a beautiful spot. I work. I don't have to work too hard. I get to work from home. All my expenses are already basically paid for. Like, I'm in a good position. I'm in a position where I can just do what I want and see, to spare the nice words, I could throw shit at the wall and see what sticks. It's an opportunity that most aren't granted, especially for this long. But I've been just wasting it. And more recently than ever, or more recently than not, spent the last year or so kind of staying on track, kind of trying to figure out what I'm comfortable with and what I want to pursue, and figure out where I want my life to be and to move. Everything, beautiful about life, shaping it, because life is so fluid in itself. You can really kind of do whatever you want. As long as you stick with it, it's bound to work out at some point. It's a beautiful feeling. But it seems as if I've taken the fluidity and the freedom granted to me to my own advantage. And because it's in my own advantage, I just have done nothing. And this last week really, I think, I pray this is the right word, exacerbates that type of idea. The fact that I know, or I feel as if I have enough time to waste, so I waste time. But because I waste time, I feel terrible. And because I feel terrible, I end up wasting time. And it's a circular motion. And, I can blame it on 1,001 things, random, familiar, I don't even want to say problems, but familiar task that comes up. Oh, do X, Y, and Z, drive us here, etc., etc. I can blame it on overstimulation and just some of the things that I've had. Overstimulation is some of the regular and current lifestyle patterns of many people that has led me to become less focused on how I pursue life and things that I want to pursue. If you need an example, social media is a very great example of overstimulation. If you use Instagram, if you use TikTok, those are the two most prevalent social medias that I can think of right now. Social media platforms. They provide such a vicious amount of content that is suited towards you. TikTok is better at it. TikTok's algorithm is disgustingly strong, but you're being constantly fed information and videos and imagery that you want to see, whether you know it or not, over and over again. You start to develop an unexpected, a subliminal, quote unquote, expectation that things will just come fast to you. Doesn't matter if it's actually meant to come fast to you or not. That's what you're used to. If you use TikTok for 3-4 hours a day, each video is about 60 seconds, give or take, even shorter. But let's just say 60 seconds. Each hour you see 60 TikToks. which means if you watch TikTok for 4 hours a day, you see about 240 TikToks, assuming you even watch them to full, assuming each one of them is 60 seconds. That's a lot of information to take in. That's a lot of different, audio and visual information to just take in. And you watch basically all the ones that come into your presence, because the algorithm is so built out strongly that it already knows that's what you want to see, or that's what you're most likely to see. So if you keep living a life where you're filled with seeing things and hearing things that you want to see and hear, you eventually lose the drive for chasing anything remotely outside of it being spoon-fed to you. And to be honest, this type of scenario, I would like to believe, even though I know it's slightly false, exists mostly in Western society. I can speak on this because I live in a Western society. And the exact cycle that I have described, as much as I would love to demonize it and speak on it, and I will demonize it because I believe it's terrible, is a cycle that I've also fallen victim to. I am somebody who spends a lot of time, I use Instagram primarily for this type of, rapid, quick form content. And as a result, I find myself repeatedly, constantly looking at these platforms for, quick information and quick whatever I can find to just distract my mind, the quick little dopamine hit wherever I can find it. I'm a junkie for it. I'm essentially a junkie for it. Doesn't matter. I could be doing something as simple as just getting water from the sink, getting water, throwing something away, doing my laundry. I always feel this need to just keep my phone on standby, have this random video playing on my phone, just listening to this random audio playing on my phone, because I can just swipe up and something new will play. The dopamine is addictive, and it's a human chemical. So to say that it shouldn't be too much of a surprise, it's just, what can I do about it? The overstimulation is ruining me. It's ruining my mind. It's ruining my brain. It's not a question. I wish it was a question. I wish I could sit around and try to figure out where it's coming from. But I realized that my lack of attention, my issues with paying attention, etc., is being completely fueled by social media. And when I was younger, when I was in high school, before TikTok even existed, we had Vine, and before Vine, it was Musical.ly. Those social media platforms never really caught my interest, but it used to just be Snapchat, something simple. I would see people living a life that I wanted to live. They would be comfortable, or they found comfort in something that I have yet to find comfort in, and I get lost in it. And I would think about it constantly. And I will look for more and more things for whatever reason, whether it just be for the comfort of believing I could get there at some point, to just seeing it in the first place. It was always a comfort for me to just kind of see the best parts of life, and to just envision something that at the very least I didn't feel like I could achieve at some point. As true or as not as it could be. It could be something as simple as, or quote unquote as simple as, a cosplay about a game I play or a game I'm a fan of, to, seeing content of people doing stupid trick shots, I guess. Well, I don't want to say stupid, but just trick shots, because I'm just kind of scratching for information. Those 10 to 30 seconds where you see, just for an example, Do Perfect throw a basketball through the perfect little sets of obstacles and hoops and machinery to the point where it hits a very beautiful basket. It's super little to you. It's just one little piece of information to see. To them, it was everything. But day, I'm being fed information that I quote unquote want to see all the time. Give it 20-30 minutes, I'll forget that I even saw that that trick shot in the first place. And that exact type of idea exists now in my workflow and how I operate through life, unfortunately. And I say the word unfortunately because now my mind is becoming used to the constant rush of dopamine, regardless of what I'm doing, which means that if the dopamine isn't there, I won't work. But if I don't work, then the dopamine won't come. The dopamine doesn't come and I don't work. Circular motion. A lot of things in life are circular, and it gets annoying, to be honest, but it makes sense as to why certain things are the way they are. Because it's super simple to just get stuck in the idea of, what am I to do? Okay, I don't want to do this work, it's boring. But then you don't do the work, you get assigned more boring work as punishment. And then what? You eventually have to dig yourself out of the hole, because if you get stuck in a hole, you're just going to get pissed off and look for more things to avoid your reality that you're in the hole. At some point, you have to just sit up, look around, and say to yourself, wow, where I am is pretty terrible. I don't like where I am, but I don't believe I'm belonging to be here anyway. The best I can do is to stand up and to move forward. And those type of ideas is how we can start to progress and to get out of it. Personally, like I said, with the last week or so, I've been struggling. I've been struggling very terribly with the idea of getting stuck into short form content and just everything that comes with it. My attention span has been diminishing. I hate self-diagnosis, so I won't even attempt to come close to it. But I've been, based off self-diagnosis and self-reflection, I've been experiencing or exhibiting ADHD-like symptoms. It's not to say that I have ADHD, but some of the symptoms that you might find in the typical ADHD patient or member of society, and even just like the guidelines of what psychiatrists use to determine if you do have ADHD or not. I feel like I am definitely picking some of those charts. Not enough to call myself a sniper, maybe something else to, maybe I fall under the category of something else in life that is relatively quote unquote normal, or, makes sense. Oh, you might not have ADHD, but you just fall into, some other simple category. You just have a little bit of an attention problem that can be solved. Even if you play games, you might have similar qualities towards the people that play this one type of class, this one type of character in this cyber game, even if that's not who you want to play. I would love to give you an example, but it's super broad and it's super annoying to try to get across. So I wouldn't stress yourself on trying to think of an example. If I had to give an example, just if you play any game with some sort of class system, character system, just think about any character, think about whatever stereotype you might think of said character, and then take one portion of it, apply it to someone, and see how they feel when you tell them that. Again, I won't expect you to always have someone on deck to use that example with, maybe even if it's yourself. Who knows? Maybe you fall into this stereotype. That's not the point. The point is, I've been lately exhibiting ADHD, ADD-like symptoms. And it's not to say that's who I am, who I was. I know that's not who I am. I've been usually someone who is super focused on one thing at a time for the majority of my life. The problem is I've allowed myself to become so overstimulated by social media, simply put. Social media, and I'm allowing myself essentially to do this type of thing. So I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, social media is the devil, it made me do this, and this. At the end of the day, everything I've done everything that I am should be, or essentially is, depending on what it is. But this type of personality shift, this is without a shred of doubt my fault. I am someone who has been molded by the world around me, and I have allowed it. It sounds cruel to say it to yourself at times, but it's also very important to realize that you do have control. I have become a worse person because I have fallen victim to the idea of short form and immediate content being fed to me, to the point where if I don't have it, I lack the dopamine and the confidence and the energy to pursue what I want to pursue throughout my lifetime. I had the choice to just never get into that type of thing. I fell into the enticement of just seeing on the little funny shits, the little funny things in life over and over and over again. Oh, look at this funny video of a monkey. Swipe up. Now it's a funny video of a cat. Swipe up. It's a super edgy meme that might be funny to 7 people on this entire universe. Swipe up. Now it's little fake news about rappers. All these random things the algorithm has figured out that I'm interested in. True or not, it doesn't matter if the algorithm isn't true. They're always building on these massive platforms. So even if they get it wrong at some point, the whole point of getting it wrong is to point the system into the right direction to figure out what will keep you on this app forever. That's all it's working for. It's trying to keep you there. And I lost. Quite honestly, I have lost. I've been a chronic procrastinator for the last couple years, but it went from procrastinating from the sake of just not wanting to do it, and I'd sit there quietly in my room and do anything else, just spin a pencil or whatever, to I'm not doing it because I don't want to. I don't want to, or quite literally, I forget. It's a different level of procrastination when it's, I can finish it right at the end, or I can do it later, to I don't even care if it gets done or not. And if it has to be done, can I just half-ass it? What's the bare minimum I could do? I used to wait for essays until the last 24, 48 hours. And when I actually started to work on it, I would work on it still for myself, not for the teacher that I had to submit it to. It became a personal project. Now it feels as if someone isn't yelling down my throat to get something done, I won't do it. And it's not healthy. There's nothing to do there. And on top of it, it just creates a lot of problems. There's just a lot of problems with the idea that you don't want to get anything done. Because if you don't want to get anything done, then, in the true sense of life, what's the point? What's the point of being here in any capacity if you don't have the internal flame to do something? And for whatever reason, in the same sense that some people might pursue an artistic career to get the thoughts out of their heads, something that still seems somewhat selfless. Artists who try to portray what they see in other people, etc. What really separates them from the people who do things because they're interested in them, or do things because they know that it plays a significant role in other people, which is why I believe that there should be this idea that there should be love for any and everyone that you come across, because anyone that you come across is usually providing a service that you want to receive at some point. But you'll see, I don't want to say countless, but you'll see moments where my brain is starting to lose itself. But show love to your common man. You'll see Some people work in fast food. Some people work in quote unquote horrendous, I don't want to say categories, but their occupation is something that you wouldn't really dream of, but they still do it for some reason. Procrastination doesn't exist to them because they have an ulterior motive at the very least, whether it just be for survival or survival of other people. If you work at, say, McDonald's, something fast food, I wouldn't be surprised if you said that you don't want to work the job you have at the moment. And I understand that. At the same time, anyone that comes into that shop should respect you because they still want the service from you. You serve a greater purpose than just the fact that you are working fast food. It might be the most worthless thing to you, being a McDonald's cashier. That's okay. In the day, you're making money that you need to live and sustain either yourself, anyone else around you. And if at the same point, if you weren't there, someone hypothetically would have lost out on the opportunity to get what they were looking for, which is fast food. And that goes into a whole nother point of why disrespect people you're receiving service from. But, we'll skip over that. That could be an argument and a problem for another day. I think my point comes across in the same sense. You have people who do very dangerous, I don't want to say boring jobs, but there's no necessary point that anyone is doing these type of things, such as people who install wires under the sea level, underwater technicians and electricians and all these things. People who have these very odd one-off jobs where they make like 100,000, 120,000 per year, despite only working 3-4 years. They put themselves on the line in the same sense of putting your personal health on the line. People who work in oil rigs, this and all these other things. There's no procrastination. If you have to get it, if you need to live, you're gonna do it. But in the same sense, I can imagine people who work in customer service, the people who work in oil fields, the people who work on the general infrastructure that they themselves and everyone else around them particularly enjoys. I feel like, or at least I hope, that there's some sort of accomplishment that is felt from the fact that you didn't fall victim to procrastination. If everyone procrastinated, it wouldn't be anywhere because everyone would just push it away tomorrow. The world is crafted, molded, and made beautiful by those who has challenged the idea of why not do it another day. It is an eternal blessing that we've been under. Everything you see around you is someone that has decided there is no more time to wait. I want to see this become a reality. I will see it as a reality. But I guess that's where my procrastination gets even stronger, because I don't know what I want to show everybody. I don't know what I want to be. I feel like I want to be something. I don't fully want to be forgotten. I understand at some point I will be forgotten, and that's okay. I've come to terms with that. But I don't want it to become so sudden. I still want to have an impact. And I want to have an impact in the sense that I want to just make sure that everyone around me is doing well, better than when I met them. But in the same sense, I do have a strong wish to just pursue what I want to pursue, because I realize that being there for people 100% of the time won't provide me with the salvation I'm looking for. It just provides them with the salvation they're looking for, in some sense. So I need to stop procrastinating. I think that's really about it. I've spent the last week or so drooling on myself. Drooling on myself is a way of saying that I've done nothing. And that's just completely true. That's just the fact of the matter. I can get angry and hate on myself and get and just like call myself all these terrible things. You're a stupid motherfucker who has done nothing to provide for the people around you and yourself. You just leech. You do nothing. And there's some truth. There's some truth to that matter. And the days that I spend not doing anything really does play into that type of feeling. It plays into the fact that there's a lot of days where I don't do anything. I don't provide for anyone. I kind of just sit there in the same chair I've been in for the last 2-3 years. And I quote unquote try to figure out what to do. And then there's days like the last week or so where I don't do anything. I have the time. I have everything going for me. Nobody's looking for me. Nobody's really wanting me. I finished all my regular work. Now it's time to just lead into a hobby. And what do? I sit there for hours on hours without end, doing nothing. I sit there and I do nothing. I wonder where the time goes. I get angry about where the time goes. And that anger only translates itself into not doing something the next time. Now, does that really make sense? Does it really make sense to do the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result? No. I think everyone understands that if you want something new, you have to do something new. But my brain just wouldn't process that. For a while, I kept thinking it's my fault that X, Y, and Z is going wrong. It's my fault, etc., etc. It doesn't. I can't do the same things expecting the same. I can't do the same things expecting different results. I can't allow myself to become so lax with my goal setting and my planning for each day, my scheduling, and who I talk to and what I decide to do every single day. I can't allow all those things to be the exact same way it is, while still expecting something else in my life to move differently, especially when it's so controlled by everything else. If I decide to spend a number that I won't describe, let's just say, for the sake of example, I want to spend 3 hours a day drawing. I want 3 hours a day to be towards some type of creative activity. Well, that statement one already creates a problem. Am I creating fabric? Am I creating graffiti, digital art? Who knows? But let's just, let's keep it concise. Let's reduce the swivel. I want to create 3 hours of artistic work every single day. There we go. We have our plan. But what's going to keep me to it? What is truly going to make me care about, seeing that goal through? And personally, getting through the markers is something that I want to do, but clearly I don't have an interest in actually doing it. I don't do anything. I spent 2-3 hours earlier today doing nothing. I just watched YouTube videos. Instead of doing something myself, I watched, almost hopelessly what other people created and done with their lives. And I tell myself that could be me. Then I don't do anything about it. And if I don't do anything about it, do I really deserve to be on the same level as those who do? I don't. I don't deserve to be out there. I don't deserve to be remotely close to them. If I got close to them, then, we can focus on little individual differences and everything that makes this easier and this harder, but it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, someone else put the time in, then I didn't. So my procrastination just holds me back. And I don't want it to hold me back any longer, any further than it is already. I mean, there's things that I do want to see throughout my life. I don't want to just sit here relatively stagnant and just seeing what I can do with the small influx of money that I'm getting right now. I want to create something that I can truly call home. I want to do something that really makes me happy, but not a lot of things make me happy. And the things that do make me happy, I'm so afraid of being hurt, of not getting it done perfectly in the moment, that I start to procrastinate. I'm an artist. If I can't draw that circle, if I can't draw that box perfectly on the first try, I'm going to open my phone on Instagram and doom scroll through it for minutes, if not hours, just to forget about what happened. I live in a terrible vicious cycle that's only gotten perpetuating worse by the sake of internet culture. But I don't want internet culture to be I don't want that to be the scapegoat. It's not a scapegoat, it can provide reason, explanation as to why certain things are certain ways. But in the day, I still made all the decisions that I want to make. And it's not getting me anywhere. It's not getting me anywhere. And at the very least, if I'm not going to allow myself to get anywhere, if I'm not going to push myself anywhere, I don't deserve the right to cry about the fact that I'm not getting anywhere. All I can really do is just be a better version of myself. All I can really do is focus on what will it take to get my procrastination to go away. And to be honest, at least from my understanding, the only thing that really gets my procrastination to go away is to finally set goals for myself. Figure out what I want to do and make sure that it is concrete and built into ourselves, because it develops character, whether you hit it or not. If you have a snowman and you want to see that snowman hit 5 years old because you live in such a cold climate, make sure that snowman lives 5 years old. If you're 10, you want to get into coding because you saw your older brother get into it a little bit. Sting yourself, figure out what it's like. But it's just good to just, have that motivation. If you find something that you think you want to pursue at the end of the day, there's no reason not doing it. But to wrap around to kind of my beginning question, I don't believe it's right to say that you're passionate about something and not consistently do it in your free time. You can say you're in a rut. Yeah, that's completely fine. I believe that's an important statement to make. You should be able to back out of situations and feelings that you have whenever you feel them. But at the same time, I don't fully believe that is a perfect shadow. If you have 20 ventures and none of them really go anywhere because you don't put the time in, you're not a procrastinator. You just don't put the time in. You don't do anything to actually see it through. The best people in life are the ones who fail anyway. So you should just keep pushing. And the more I say that out loud, the more I realize I need to hear that advice myself, because I suffer with procrastination because I am afraid of failing. I'm afraid of failing. I'm afraid of seeing what happens when I fail. I'm afraid of letting other people see me fail. Everything in the book. I like to portray myself as this perfect, clean figure, when just listening to me for anything longer than 30 minutes, if we even get that far, will show that I am a very damaged individual. I am damaged. I am hurt on many levels, and I have allowed myself to destroy myself when it comes to my own personal self-worth and pursuing the things that I want to pursue as I grow up and as I want to figure out my footing in life. But none of those things matter because I can always change myself. And because I can always change myself, I cannot allow myself to be stuck in the quote unquote ways that I am today and the things that I feel right now. I need to break out of this cycle of procrastination and being stuck in the overstimulation of social media and the world around me. And at the very, very least, I need to be able to get through procrastination because I want to, not because I need to. Procrastination hurts the worst when you're doing something that you feel as if you want to do, but yet you can't. And that type of feeling is one of the worst feelings that I've been dealing with since quite some time. I look at my journals under my monitors, under everything that I've kind of work for just for the sake of working, to live. All these massive things don't matter. The things that matter the most are the smaller things. The journals, the mangas and books that I have. Those are all the manga stuff that I have. The mangas that I have read, the journals that I'm trying to fill out, they're not procrastination. I read them because I want to. And I feel so great when I do these type of things because I want to. But every now and then, those type of things just go from a request to a demand. And I just have to work on it. What can I do? What can I do but to really focus and hone in on the things that make me feel the worst? Try to understand where they come from, and not only understand where they come from, but what can I do to overcome these type of feelings? And to get stuck into who I am today, knowing that I could be someone else completely tomorrow, doesn't make sense. I have the power. It's all in my hands to just do better. I can do better. I can provide for more people. I can finally complete the things that I told myself I want to complete, recently or not recently. As long as it's still a goal, it's still possible. But doing what I'm doing right now, not accomplishing anything, allowing myself to sit and just wallow in my sorrows because I just can't control my own mind, to just allow all of these hopes and dreams to fly away from my sight and from my grasp, even though I see them and I dream of them and I it's so close to me. I feel like I can taste them at times, to let it all just slip away because I don't quote unquote have the motivation, because I can't decide on how to do better things for myself, because I can't decide on how to let all these little small vices go just to pursue the things that will pay out in the long run. I mean, if I really let myself fall into those type of holes, then what's the point? There's not a point. There's not a point anymore if I let my life be dictated by the smaller things. Life is way bigger than what it is today, tomorrow, the next week, the next month. Hell, the next year, the next 5 years. I'm willing to bet, regardless of where you are in life, the next year to the next 5 years will not matter as you continue to grow. You might come out with stories, or anything like that. You might come out with stories, development, etc. Doesn't matter. You will still be a different person the year after all of that transpires. I can't allow these type of things, small or not, to really hold me back from where I want to be and who I believe I want to be, who I believe I will be, who I will be. I cannot allow myself to sit stagnant.